Okay, we are starting geometry part 2. So we are talking about transformations. We will be talking about several different types of transformations. These notes will be titled reflections. Make sure you write reflections at the top of the page. Okay, so we're going to start by talking about a little bit of a review, line symmetry. You should know this from last year. Line symmetry is if one half of the figure is a mirror image of the other half of the figure. A line of symmetry divides that figure into two equal parts, two congruent parts. Okay, so make sure you have that down. Now, a reflection is a transformation where a figure is flipped. We have used that word in the past. We say a flip is a reflection. It's across a line. Now we're going to use the x-axis and the y-axis as our lines for most of our problems because we're doing coordinate geometry. The original figure and the new figure, the reflection, are congruent. We'll talk about translations a little bit later. Okay, so let's talk about, do we have reflections here? This star to this star, not a reflection. This star is turned, it is not flipped over. This moon, because this is the original, to this moon, does that look flipped? No, it's just slid, so not a reflection. If we look at this sun here, this sun is a reflection. This flips to this. If I flip this over, it is congruent to this one. Okay? Now let's talk about some reflections on our coordinate paper. This is on the paper that I gave you guys, so make sure you're looking at this one here. This is a reflection over the y-axis. So we have point A and point B. I want you to put this on your paper. So you're going to draw this line segment. I want to reflect it over the y-axis. This is our y-axis. So I'm taking this and flipping it over here. I look at A. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 places away from the y-axis. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4 places away from the y-axis in this direction. The point B is only 1 place away from the y-axis, so I count 1 place away from the y-axis here. I'm going to label this A and B, but they're not the same. They're not the originals, so I'm going to put this little dash here. That's a prime mark. So we say AB prime. Now, a good way to remember that, how many of you have ever watched Transformers, the movie? So we're doing transformations, Optimus Prime, that might help you remember that prime. And then I draw my line. And this is a mirror image here of my original. So my prime points, I'm going to write those down. A prime is 1, 2, 3, 4, -4. 1, 2, 3, 4, up 4 still. And then point B is, B prime is -1, 1. What changed in these? Start looking at that. What changed? That's kind of interesting. Now, I want to look at another example here. This one, I want to reflect over the x-axis. So, on your papers, let's plot these 4 points. We have 0, -4, 2, -2, 5, -2, 3, -4. Our directions again tell us reflect over the x-axis. Okay, so I am going to start with D here. If I look at D, and I got to pick my x-axis right here. D is 1, 2 spaces away, so D prime has to be 1, 2 spaces away. So I'm going to label that D prime. E here is 1, 2 spaces away. So E has to be 1, 2 spaces away here. So I have E prime. Let's scroll down a little. F is 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces away. So F prime, I start at the axis, 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces away for F prime. And then G is 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces away. So G prime is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces away. And I'm going to label it G prime. Now, I know this looks a little confusing because we have all these loopy things going on here, but connect your dots. That's all you have to do is connect your dots in the same way they are connected on the original figure, and you'll notice the figure has flipped. Now, you can erase these pencil marks here if you would like to, or keep them so you can see how we got that. So we just did a reflection over the x-axis, and then our previous one was over the y-axis. Now, sometimes we'll be asked to do both. This one, we are going to reflect over the y-axis, then the x-axis. So we have to look. Here is our y-axis. We're starting here. D is 1 away. D prime, we're going to put it 1 away. C is 2 away. C prime, 2 away. And then I'm going to connect my line. Okay, now the next thing, it asks us to reflect over the x-axis. We don't go back to the original. We go to the prime. So now I'm looking at how do I reflect it over this axis. C is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces away. So C prime is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces away. Now I've already got a C prime, so this is C prime prime. D, D is right on the axis. So D prime and D prime prime are the exact same spot. So now I connect those, and this is my final answer. So I have reflected it once over the y-axis, then again over the x-axis. Be careful, students make mistakes reflecting over which axis, so pay attention to that in the directions. Something I want to go back and look at is I want to examine these points. This point here, 2, 5. How did it change to this point, -2, 5? That was the reflection over the y-axis. Then C prime prime changed -2, -5. I want you guys to look at that. We're going to talk about this a little bit tomorrow and look at those changes. Let's do one more example. This one is tricky. This shape is going to be reflected over the x-axis. Now, if I look, the x-axis is right here. But the whole figure can't be flipped over the x-axis. So what we have to do is we have to flip it by its points. The easiest thing to do is take D and count 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces away. So D prime is 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces away right here. Let's mark it D prime. O, I'm reflecting it. It's going to be on this side now. It's 1, 2 spaces away. So O prime, 1, 2 spaces away. O prime right there. And then G is 1, 2 spaces away. So G prime is 1, 2 spaces away right here. G prime. Then I'm going to take and I'm going to connect all of my points, and the figure looks the exact same, just flipped or reflected. Okay, so in your notes for tomorrow, you should come to class with your definition of line symmetry, reflections. You should have some drawings, and you should have those 3 graphs filled in, reflecting over the y-axis, x-axis, both axes, oh, 4 graphs, excuse me, and this one reflecting over the x-axis. See you guys tomorrow.